All right, everybody, welcome to In Progress. It's our weekly roundtable discussion of the political stories, issues, and ideas that are top of mind for progressive folks across the Lone Star State. And this week, I'm Chris Mosier, podcasting director here at Progress, Texas. We are a statewide nonprofit rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. This week on the call, we've got advocacy and development coordinator Tatum Owens.
Hey there, howdy.
Not Potato Mullins, but Tatum Owens. And we also have here Executive Director, the boss, Kathleen Thompson. Hi, KT.
Hey, folks.
And we also have a digital associate, Haley Smith. Hi, Haley.
Hey.
So here we are. We survived 2025. 2026 is here. As you're hearing this, hopefully you've shaken your New Year's hangover by now. And hopefully you have not yet broken your New Year's resolutions. And that's what we're here to talk about as we move into 2026. Thinking about all this politically from the progressive angle, there is so much more that all of us could do, that every single individual person, regardless of your degree of involvement, regardless of your degree of study into politics and your consideration of politics, there's so much more that we can all do, not only to enrich ourselves and our own understanding of the political situation, but also what we do as part of the broader body politic in terms of our involvement. And so we've decided today's conversation is going to be about our political New Year's resolutions. What are each of us going to do to sort of step up the game and do all we can to have a nice, productive 2026? For our side of the political aisle, shall we say. The boss gets to go first here. We're going to go around the horn and then I guess critique each other's New Year's resolution and, not critique, encourage. Encourage is the word that I should use, especially when I'm talking to the boss. I should definitely be encouraging the boss. Okay. Kathleen, go ahead. Tell us about your New Year's resolution for 2026.
Okay, my New Year's resolution for 2026 is to involve more people in the political process to vote for better policies and outcomes for all of us. I have no problem visiting with the store clerk or somebody who's standing next to me opening envelopes at the post office about the upcoming election. But I don't always, go knock on the door at a neighbor's, house. Or we have a community board online, go and make sure people understand about the voter registration deadlines and when it is time to go vote. So my New Year's resolution is to make that +1, be a voter who comes along with me. And the reason is because 2025, it felt like a decade. And did everybody remember the November 2024 election a few decades ago?
Oh my God.
I mean, that's what it felt like. 2025 was such a long year and a difficult year for so many of us. So the only way that things are going to get better is if we bring more people along who stayed home in 2024 and get those voting numbers back up to the 2020 election when we had more Texans vote than ever before. We had more young people vote than ever before, because all of our lives truly can improve if more people are involved and are aware of what they can personally do to make better outcomes when we vote for people who care about and share our values. So I'm going to be bringing folks along with me and have that +1.
Yeah, I think especially in a state like Texas, it can be really intimidating to talk about politics with people as a progressive person. I'm from a rural conservative area, and for a long time, I grew up thinking that myself and my family were the only people that thought this way. And we were just surrounded by a sea of nothing but Republican voters who were diametrically opposed to us. And come to find out, that's just not the truth. There is a large and growing Democratic Party down there, and there are Democrats and progressives everywhere you look. And it can feel really isolating and scary in especially this time to try to reach a hand out and invite people into this sometimes very intimidating sphere. But if we don't sit with that discomfort and have those difficult conversations, we're never going to get anywhere. So yeah, I think that's definitely something that's on my list too.
There's a very common phenomenon that we find in Texas politics, especially if you're going out doing door knocking for an organization or a candidate or something. Typically, that's done based on data that we get back from the voter rolls, and so you're knocking on the door of a person who you know has voted Democratic in the past, and very, very commonly, especially in the smaller towns and out in the country, the person who answers the door will tell the door knocker, "You're wasting your time because I'm the only Democrat for miles." And the person will look at their list and say, "Actually, there are about 10 of you on this block." And they don't know each other because they kind of hunker down, like we've talked about. It can be an uncomfortable situation, especially in the redder parts of Texas. I would also say, Kathleen, part of my strategy when I'm trying to do exactly what you're talking about, bringing people kind of on board, is to listen, is to do a lot of listening. Especially at first, especially someone who you've just met, and that's something we ought to be doing anyway, just in the course of being a good conversationalist and being a good neighbor, is to learn more about what makes this person tick, what are this person's values, what are their challenges, what are their goals. All of those things in place, you can start to have a lot more common ground. You can find that common ground, which of course fosters a much more meaningful and productive conversation about just about anything, including politics.
Absolutely.
It all starts with a conversation. And I think something like that I feel when I hear Kathleen's point about like talking to your neighbors and starting those conversations is like, I think that we could all benefit from dealing with a little bit more discomfort. Yes, talking to people that you haven't talked to before is awkward, but it can be extremely fruitful, and sometimes it's just like they don't want to hear you and that's okay. And you move on to the next. But I would rather sit with the satisfaction that I tried to connect with someone and tried to help people, the do-gooder hat on, sorry, than sit with the regret of knowing that maybe somebody is worse off for not having known about an upcoming election or not having known about mutual aid or resources that they could have been using, And so it all starts with just that first hello. And I do that a lot. My friends get really annoyed with me about it, but you do what you got to do. Even just like talking to someone at the store in line, and maybe it's annoying, but who cares? Maybe you're annoying and people are better off for it. So that's kind of what I sit on that.
I think all of us here are pretty much willing to be annoying. We do it professionally at this point. I'll go next here. And I've talked about this before. When we're talking about stepping up our game, let's say you're a person who has joined a neighborhood club. You're a person who may have, worked on the campaign of a candidate who you happen to know. You've done kind of the basic stuff that you can do almost as a hobby, and it might be time to actually get involved. The next step up for a lot of folks is to become a precinct chair, which is actually an elected position. It's kind of the most ground game, most grassroots level of the actual, party structure, I would say. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. But the precinct chair is the person who is the closest to the clubs and the voters and the neighbors and the people who are just living in the district or the precinct that we're talking about here. It just so happens that my precinct chair is a guy named John Denisi, who happens to be the husband of Gina Hinojosa. So John's a little busy lately. I've kind of wondered if John might step down as our precinct chair. He's been precinct chair for a long time. And if John happens to be listening to this, John, if you decide that you're too busy to be precinct chair, let me know, because I might want to think about doing that. Here's one thing that many of you here in the room and also people listening to the pod may not realize is there is a decent chance, even if you live in a fairly politically defined sort of cultural area like I do here in Central Austin, there's a really good chance that you don't have a precinct chair. Kendall Scudder has taken over the Texas Democratic Party in recent months, and there's been a big push to fill a lot of those positions at precinct chair. So I think this is less true than it might have been about a year ago from now. But there are still many, many vacancies, and there are entire swaths of smaller town and countryside Texas that don't have precinct chairs. And so this is something to think about in terms of find out if you're living somewhere where you don't have one. And if you don't have one, by all means, fill that very, very important position.
Yeah. So becoming a precinct chair is of the utmost importance. It's one of the first steps that you can take to becoming civically engaged. And I think that if you can take that step, you go right ahead. And if you can't, if you feel like yours, well, for one thing, if yours is already filled, which like Chris pointed out, there was a huge effort this year to fill a lot of precinct chairs, but there's still tons that need help. you can still join your local party and help out there. There is never enough hands to go around. And so whatever feels like the right place for you to be in, that's a good stepping stone.
Yeah, I've been a precinct chair before, and it's kind of like the social director on a cruise ship, even though I've never been on a cruise ship, and I don't want to be. But I've watched Love Boat reruns when I was very young. So I think that it's a great way to meet people in your neighborhood and to help people who are busy with their own lives understand, you know what, your voting location has changed. And especially if you're a voter here in Dallas County, unfortunately, the Dallas County Republican Party has just voted that they are not going to be doing countywide voting. They want to do vote in your precinct voting, which means that Democrats also cannot have countywide voting. So people are going to have to be made aware of changes to how they've been voting for years. So it's the precinct chair who's got that old style, phone tree list of people's names and addresses and phone numbers to let them know of really important changes that can mean make or break for someone's vote. So I've done it. I really enjoyed it. I'm a little bit busy right now, but if that's something that you can do, I highly recommend being a precinct chair. And because Chris let us know about this topic, I did look to see if I have a precinct chair. And right now in Dallas County, there isn't one.
Wow.
Echoing just what all y'all said, I think donating your money and, supporting causes is super important, but it's also important to, actually get out there and have boots on the ground and be a body and build this institutional support across the state. And being a precinct chair is like, you're not president or anything, you know what I mean? Like, it's sure it's an elected position, but like, it's a community position. But I think in that way, you also are able to get more in touch with the issues that actually impact the people around you. And you can actually like do something about it. And just being a person, a physical person that is working on the ground to make people's lives better and get involved in the political process that way. I think that's super important.
I think if you're the type of person that leans towards maybe becoming part of your homeowners association and an HOA type person, but you don't want people to hate you, maybe this is the way to do it.
Yeah, redirect that.
People, the HOA folks, I think, get a bad rap in general. They're off. They start on strike too. Tatum, tell us about your New Year's resolution for 2026.
Three-pronged approach here. I love prongs. So read, do, and talk, which all amounts to basically becoming more informed and engaged and trying to help people around me become more informed and engaged. That's what we do here at Progress Texas, is inform, engage, and mobilize communities across the state. Empower, too. Starting with read, I started a book club with my friends. I'm trying to be accessible and attainable in what we are reading. So there's a mixed bag of fiction, but also some nonfiction to get a little bit more informed on things happening to us, around us. And so I think that overall, we know that Texas is in a bad spot. Many Texans and Americans are functionally illiterate. It's a very large percentage. And so the more that you can look in the face of tech bros who want you to be addicted to your phone and the endless scroll and just take back your attention span, I think that that is a radical act. And so I feel very empowered in my reading for pleasure and to fill my brain with knowledge on how to fight back against that. So that's one thing. And I am making my friends do it too. That way they are also better off for it. Then do, as my other part of the approach, getting involved in your community. We've already talked about a couple of different ways between starting conversations, taking that first step out. One of my favorite volunteer experiences that I've gotten to do over the years, over the course of my lifespan, actually, my grandma introduced me to it, was Meals on Wheels. Food is something that every human needs. We all need help with it. And so many people still struggle with food insecurity. And so to be able to connect with people on that just basic human level of let's make sure that you're covered, it was something that was extremely valuable to me. And so I would just recommend that at this time where food banks across Texas are struggling very, very, very much, like local nonprofits, get involved with a local nonprofit, with your food bank, with Meals on Wheels, someone who's providing resources to others, because it is a selfish act. It makes you feel better for being involved in your community, but you know that you're helping other people, and that's just something that I think we could all benefit from. Compassion is a two-way street. And then lastly, talk. We've already talked about starting conversations and the benefit of that and just getting to know people around you. But I host trivia on Tuesday nights. My partner hosts trivia on Thursday nights. And because we have this space where we see people every single week who are definitely not involved in the political machine, and good for them, we're able to still make sure that these people are connected to their communities. So we promote resources, usually at the end of the game when they're all happy and good and had a couple of drinks, or we remind them about upcoming election reminders and deadlines. So I think that you can look at getting involved in a lot of different ways to see what fits within your schedule, your energy levels, because we're all working, we're all tired, and we're all hungry. So just figure out what you can fit in with your schedule. Like Meals on Wheels, you can do that in a lunch hour, less than. They've built that around people's work schedules and needs. So I would just say read, do, and talk.
I have a recommendation for your book club that you may or may not like. Sometimes I have to get out of politics, and I love Stacey Abrams. She writes under a pen name Selena Montgomery, and she writes racy romance novels that are fun and funny. And I got a couple books that I read and enjoyed with really amazing names like Reckless and Deception and Secrets and Lies and Hidden Sins. And I gave a couple books that I had already read to Ed Espinosa for his birthday a year or so ago.
Hi, Ed.
I'm not sure he enjoyed them as much as I did, but sometimes it's a really fun to get out of your own headspace and go see what's happening with Kel Jameson and her adventures. So I highly recommend Stacey Abrams' romance novels. They're a good read.
I've written it down.
I think doom scrolling, like stopping doom scrolling, is already on my like normal resolutions list. I feel like, at least me personally, I waste so much time on social media. And I feel like every in progress, like it's either you or me, Tatum, that are like, I saw this thing on Twitter. And like a part of me is always just like, I shouldn't be seeing things on Twitter. Like my brain, I don't think any of our brains are really meant for that. And like millions and millions and billions of dollars have been invested in an attention economy. And I think, yeah, standing up to these tech bro oligarchs, part of that is reclaiming our attention and finding places to like actively make things more constructive, point my attention and my energy and my life into something that is worth celebrating and worth constructing, not scrolling on Twitter or TikTok or Instagram it with mindless content. I think reclaiming our time and our attention that way is really important moving forward.
Very good. I think my two favorite parts of Tatum's resolution would be the book club and the trivia nights, because I'm pretty sure there's beer involved with both of those, or perhaps wine.
Yes.
You know, so that's an easy resolution for me to follow anybody into, for sure. I'm a big fan, and this makes me think of, it's kind of sort of related, but here in Austin, we have the Austin Film Society, which is an independent film group. This was founded by Richard Linklater. They have their own theater, which is in one of the older kind of two-screen theaters, I think, in kind of north central Austin. I've seen a lot of really cool movies there. A lot of their features are really too weird for me. A lot of foreign films, a lot of really, really, really artsy stuff that I kind of think maybe is not necessarily my jam. But I think what I need to do for my New Year's resolution and to build myself into expand my community is to bite the bullet and join AFS Cinema and go start watching some really weird movies, because they have a bar there too.
They do.
Right. And have a beer.
And have a beer.
Throw that into your rotation, listeners. Yeah.
Yep. So Haley, bring us home. What's your 26th resolution?
My 26th resolution is just to start attending more school board meetings.
Cool.
2025, we saw a lot of attacks on public education, and my dad was a part of our local school board. And so I went to a couple of those meetings growing up and realizing the impact that not only just like your school, your actual school board has, but just the school in general. It is the community. It's the lifeblood of where people's kids go to school. Like you have PTA moms and soccer moms and yeah, it's just a place where everybody comes together, especially in those smaller towns. And with these attacks on public education, I think it's really important for progressive or politically minded people to just be aware of what's going on in those meetings and be able to just get that information out to people who maybe don't have the time to go to all these school board meetings or look through the minutes. And, it's a lot of wading through boring, logistical stuff, but there is really important things that happen in those conversations, and just being aware and making sure other people are aware, because that's really where it all starts. And fighting for your community and showing up in that way, I think, is going to be really important moving forward. And I'm going to be graduating college in the spring, so I'll have a little bit more free time on my hands, hopefully.
Absolutely. It's become really evident, actually, that our local school districts are very much part of the political picture. As we move towards the end of the year and the election coming up in November, the State Board of Education, the statewide level of all that, is very much in play, and in some cases is quite politically fraught, as it were. But remembering the things that our governor has said about Turning Point USA chapters being shoved into high schools, seeing the things that have happened at different school districts, mainly because most of the people are not watching,
Mhm.
mainly because, like Haley says, people have turned away. Even I think, and I'll put myself in this. I'll point the finger at myself on this. I'm a super politically engaged person. I'm not super engaged with my local school board, with my local school district. My kids are up and out of school now, so I've thought of it in kind of honestly selfish sort of ways. If it's not affecting me directly, my energy's going somewhere else. But the fact of the matter is, the quality of public education affects all of us eventually, if not right at the moment. And so, Haley, I think that's great. Paying attention to local school boards, yeah, very important. Definitely something we should all do.
Haley, you're going to throw the median age way out of whack by
That's right.
attending your school board meetings. I have gone to more school board meetings than I could count. And it's a lot of retirees whose kids have come and gone, or maybe they're just taxpayers who want to know where their money's going. And there's not enough participation at the local city level or the school board level. The school district that I came up in has voted to close some elementary schools, and it's an affordability issue of housing and some folks staying in their homes and not moving on, and young families can't come into the school district. But it's also electing school board members who are more concerned with banning the book fair, still banned, running off the school high school librarian, and playing culture war with black and brown educators, and then wondering why would people leave the district. So far more people need to be involved at the local level, and I would love to see more young people involved, like you, Haley. My 16-year-old didn't tell me and brought over four friends for dinner, and we had to order some pizzas because we didn't have that much food in the fridge, and they were complaining about some decisions that their school district had made. And I said, you know what you can do about it? You can vote when you're 18, because if we had a better school board, that wouldn't be happening. And they kind of looked around at each other, and we'll see if they take mommy's advice, but I know my boy will. But there should be far more young people. If all of the kids who graduate every year would then vote in their May election, it would be such a different place.
Hmm. Yeah.
To Kathleen's point on getting involved at the local level, I have a young person in my life who I think would really benefit from showing up to really any local meeting. My sister complains to me almost every single day about traffic on 35 driving from North to South Austin. And I have relayed to her that actually you don't have to just complain to me. You can take these complaints and there is a dedicated space for you to put them. And so, if you want to attend school board meetings, city council meetings out of the goodness of your heart, I think that's a really great place to start. But if you're also really angry and upset, you have 2 minutes of allocated time to go and complain, and they have to listen to you. So I think, and there are lots of people who like to complain, and I'm right there with them. I don't like sitting in traffic either. I don't like book bans. I don't like censorship. And so I've got words to say. So Haley, I really love that point. And there's a lot more that you can do, starting with school boards and going on and on and on at the local level.
The Haley's comment, and actually Kathleen's comment also about the median age you're going to find at some of these meetings makes me think of Democratic clubs, which we've talked about a whole lot, and which is another, we're kind of out of room for New Year's resolutions. But if you are talking about stepping up your game, that's a super easy way to do that. Also a terrific way to meet some of your neighbors and the folks who live near where you are. And I remember when I joined my first club, the West Austin Democrats, I think I was probably 43 or 44 years old. And I walked in there and it was like, who's this young guy? Who's this fresh faced young, strapping young lad? And I'm like, I'm really old and I've got kids, but okay. Those of us who may think of some of these things, school board meetings or any of the other stuff that we've been talking about, if that seems like old people stuff, it's really not. It's really the stuff that you eventually become involved with because you're an engaged person and because you're paying attention to what's happening with the leadership at your local level, state level, all the way up. If you're paying attention to these are things you should be involved in. So we are getting pretty close to the end here. Happy New Year to you, listeners. Happy New Year to all you guys here in the call. And how about, I tell you what, Kathleen, as the ED, what's Progress Texas's New Year's resolution for 2026 as an organization? What do we want to get accomplished? What more do we want to do? How are we going to step up?
In a keyword, that's going to be growth. We have met the moment of the podcasting boom. We're expanding to radio. I want us to be in the top 5 media markets. And of course, that's Houston, that's Harris County, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, and El Paso, and reach millions of more potential voters and voters, because we know that we have winning progressive messages. Ask the 2025 November election wins. And so I'm really excited about 2026 and what it's going to hold for Progress Texas.
Very, very good. For Haley Smith and Kathleen Thompson and Tatum Owens, I'm podcasting director Chris Mosier, and that is In Progress once again. Progress Texas is a statewide nonprofit rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. In Progress also airs on KPFT Radio in Houston, 90.1 FM HD2 every Sunday morning starting at 11 a.m. More info on the station at kpft.org, and more information on Progress Texas and our work, find that at progresstexas.org.